haven't muted that yet. Okay, let's talk about slope fields in a slightly different context, okay? And this is where kind of understanding your parent graphs helps a little bit on some of these. Because it's not going to probably be matching. It's probably going to be multiple choice on the AP test, okay? And basically this one says match the slope fields to their differential equations, okay? So I have to kind of pick out which one goes with which, and I do this by testing points unless there's something that's like super obvious, okay? So one of these is super obvious. Which one is super obvious? Does anybody know? Which one? 10? 10 goes with B. Okay, it does. That's right, because when we integrate this, we get back to x squared, right? And that definitely looks like a parabola. Okay. All right, there's another one that I was thinking of that looks super obvious to me. Yeah, sine, because aren't sine and cosine waves? So those ones, and that's the thing, I think we did a weekly skills check on parent graphs, right? So there's sine x, there's cosine, they're waves. So the trig ones have to go together, right? So the ones that are wavy. And typically, I don't know, they don't usually do secant and cosecant and tangent and cotangent, but sine and cosine are really, should be really obvious. So C has to be 7. But we're going to look at how we get those other two for sure, okay? All right, so this one has to be letter choice C. And then we're thinking this one is B, okay? We might go through and do some testing and see what we can do to maybe make sure that that is actually true, okay? So let's just start with our point 0, 0. So basically, I'm going to test 0, 0 into all the slopes. And notice that all of these slopes at 0, 0, 2 of them are the same, okay? One of them is different, okay? So that might help us eliminate, okay? So I'm just going to, and I just write this in here, test 0, 0. So I'm going to put 0, 0 in and see what kind of slope I should get. So when I put 0 in for x, 0 in for y, what do I end up with on number 8 here? 0, okay? So number 8 can only be graph, we already eliminated C, it's either B or D, okay? Okay, looking at 9, it's 2 minus 0. What is that equal to? 2. So according to that, if I look at the slope at 0, 0, the only one that has a slope that is anything but 0 is A. So this one has to be graph A, just based on that. And I don't have to test anything else. If I wanted to, I could, but I don't have to. Okay. And then this one here, 0 in for x is 0, so it's definitely graph. Technically B or D. We'll eliminate a little bit better, but we're pretty sure it's B. Okay. All right, let's take a look at, let's try another point. Okay. So if I am trying to eliminate based on graphs B and D, I'm going to try to pick a point that looks different on both graphs, okay? And sometimes you really have to watch the scaling on these things. It looks like this one is scaled pretty normal. So this one is out 1, up 1. So what does that slope look like there? What would we guess that slope to be?
1.
1. It's definitely, it looks like 1, or definitely something positive, right? It's a positive slope. Sometimes you can just eliminate based on positive or negative. Okay. All right. And then if I go to 1, 1 here, what kind of slope is that?
0.
That's a 0 slope. So that should get it for us and be able to determine which one is graph B and which one is graph D. Okay. All right. So I am putting in the point that I'm testing now 1, 1. I don't need to worry about it except on the 2 that I have to do here. So let's see. I've got 1 minus 1, which is 0. Okay. So does that come out to be the graph we thought it would be here? Yeah, it looks like it's graph D. Okay. All right, and just to be official, let's put this one in. We're putting in 1, 1. Definitely slope of 1, so this is definitely graph B. Okay. Any questions on what we did there? So you don't have to sketch the little lines, but I always have to teach the lesson where you sketch the little lines. So you don't have to sketch the little lines. You just have to kind of plug in some test points, okay? And sometimes we guess really good to begin with, and sometimes it takes us a little longer, okay? We guess pretty good for a Monday. All right, let's take a look at this second one here. So find the second one. Little bit harder to get because it does not have, whatchamacallit, it definitely does not have something that's obvious, okay? Actually, there's one on there that's kind of obvious to me, but you have to really know. It's obvious to me because I've done a lot of algebra, so over many years' time. All right, so the first thing I'm looking for is I'm going to pick a test point. So I'm looking my favorite is always 0, 0, right? Because it's easy to calculate. It looks like I could eliminate and get one of them for sure with 0, 0. So let's start there, okay, and test 0, 0. So it looks like, and I really zoomed in on that because those are 0.5s, right? So it's one half minus 1. So it's negative, or it's 0.5 times 0 minus 1. So what do I get off of that? -1, good. We'll go back in and look at the graphs in a second. So 0.5 times 0 is going to be 0. We would have -0 over 0, which is, it's not 0, it's technically undefined, isn't it? Or indeterminate. Right, we've learned those two words. I can't really see that. Okay, and there might be something on the graph indicating that. So, and then this one would be 0 plus 0, which is 0. Okay, so let's go back and look at our graphs. So this first graph here looks like, even though you can't see it, look at the pattern here. This is probably a solid 0 slope there. So graph A would have to go with which graphs? 12 or what else? 14. So it's probably one of those two, okay? All right. Looking at graph B, what's the slope on graph B look like? It looks like -1. It's for sure negative. Which one does it have to be then? It has to be 11. So this is definitely graph, not A. What am I doing? It has to be graph B. Okay. All right. Looking at this one here, doesn't really show a slope, but it kind of looks like it might be horizontal. So it could be a 0 slope. So I would put that one with 12 or with 14 probably. Okay. This is the one where, I don't know, I'm kind of confused. Well, I know a lot. So this one here, it looks like, oh, that could be a 0 slope too, couldn't it? So this one might be a possibility for any of these too. This one might also be, I don't think it's going to be A. This one could be C or D, I think. Because they didn't really show us anything on those, so that's kind of acting a little bit undefined, although this could be assumed to be horizontal. This one's acting, didn't really give us much. So that's where I'm at with this. Okay, let's try another point. See if we can get a little bit better. Okay. We know we don't need to worry about graph B, so I'm going to try to find a point that looks somewhat different, and I can eliminate at least one of these. So I am going to look at the point 1, 1. So that one looks pretty positive there. It looks less positive here, and here it's negative. Okay, so that should get us at least one thing. Okay, so I am testing 1, 1. I don't need to test it into the first one because we've definitely got that one. All right, if I put 1 in here, what does that give us? 0.5. Okay. If I put 1 in here, 1 in for the x, 1 in for the y, what do I get? -1. Good. All right, and then if I put 1 in here, I get 1 plus 1, which is 2. It's okay. Our brain grew early on a Monday. That's all right. Okay, so let's go back and look at our graphs again. Okay, so which one is for sure? Which one belongs to graph D for sure? 13. So this one is definitely graph D. Okay, I actually knew that just looking at it because when I see an X over a Y, it means it's a circle. Okay, and do you see how it's circular? But that's just experience, lots and lots of experience. Okay. Then the next two, I could probably make a pretty good educated guess. Are they both still in the A and C range? They both came out positive. Which one has a steeper slope? A for sure has a steeper slope. So this one is probably A. This one is probably C. It wouldn't hurt me if I wanted to be sure to try to find one more point where they like differ. Like I would probably look at this point right here. Look at this one. It's out -1, up, or out -1, up 1, and it's different. One is a 0, 0, and one is a positive slope. So let's try that one. If I just tested that real quick, out -1, up 1. Let's see, I put in a y value of 1, I get 0.5. I put in a y value here, -1 plus 1, I get 0. Did we pick correctly? Based on that extra point really verified for us that we picked correctly. Okay? Any questions on matching up slope fields? Okay, great. Okay, let's take a look then at, let's go to our notes. We're going to do a new set of notes. We're going to get into physics this week. So, we're going to kind of jump. There's one lesson in the physics in Unit 4, and there's one in Unit 8. So we're going to jump between the two this week. That's the plan.